my dear students. Today's our topic is two different credit situations. Two different credit situations means two different situations to get loans. A large number of transactions in our day-to-day activities involve credit in some form or the other form. Then what do you mean by credit? Credit means loan. It refers to an agreement in which the lender supplies the borrower with the money, goods or services in return for the promise of future payment. That is known as credit or loan. When you borrow something from others, you promise that a person that you will return it in future. So that is loan or credit. So what do you mean by credit, or what do you mean by the term credit? An agreement in which the lender supplies the borrower with the money, goods or services in return for the promise of future payment. That is known as credit. So you underline this area and write the question, what do you mean by the term credit? So here in our textbook, two examples are there. The first one is the festival season. So you look here, the festival season, what are the things saying there? It is a festival season 2 months from now, and the shoe manufacturer Salim has received an order from a large trader in town for 3,000 pairs of shoes to be delivered in a month time. So he want to produce this shoes, this Salim, he want to produce 3,000 pairs of shoes. And to complete the production on time, Salim has to hire a few more workers for stitching and pasting work. He has to purchase the raw materials to meet the expenses. Salim obtained loan from two sources. So from the two different sources, he can take money, or he can take the loan. First one is that he can ask the leather supplier to supply leather now and promises to pay him later. The second one, he obtains loan in cash from the large trader as advance payment for 1,000 pairs of shoes with a promise to deliver the whole order by the end of the month. At the end of the month, Salim is able to deliver the order, make a good profit and repay the loan or repay the money that he had borrowed. That is the condition of Salim, a positive situation we discussed. Proper time, Salim is able to deliver the order and he made a good profit there. So here the Salim's case, you can see that credit helped him to meet the working capital needs of production. So the loan helped him to meet the working capital needs for production. The credit helps him to meet the ongoing expenses of production, complete the production on time, and thereby increasing his earnings. So from this example, what we understand, credit therefore plays a vital and important and positive role that we discuss. Loan helped Salim to improve his condition that we discussed. Then what is the second situation? Second example we can discuss, that is Swapna's problem. Swapna, she's a small farmer, grows groundnut on her 3 acres of land. She takes a loan from the moneylender to meet the expenses of cultivation, hoping that her harvest would help her to repay the loan. Midway through the season, the crops is hit by pest and the crop fails. So what happened? The midway a crop is hit by pest, it led to the crop failure. Though Swapna sprays her crops with the expensive pesticides, it makes little difference. She is unable to repay the money lender, and the debt grows over the years into a large amount. That means Swapna, she is not able to pay back her loan to the money lender on time. So what happens? Her debt increase. Next year, Swapna takes a fresh loan for cultivation. It's a normal crop, but the earnings are not enough to cover the old loan. She is caught in debt. she has to sell a part of the land to pay off the debt. So what happened here? Swapna borrowed money from the money lender and crop failure occurred. She is unable to pay back the loan on time, and at last she is compelled to sell a part of her land to pay back the loan. So here what happened? A negative effect of credit we discussed here. So this mainly occurred in the rural areas. The main demand for credit is for crop production. So underline this point. In rural area, the main demand for credit is for crop production. Underline. The main demand for credit is for crop production in rural areas. Crop production involves considerable cost on seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, water, electricity, repair of equipment, etc. So for different needs, need money in crop production. So there is a minimum stretch of 3 to 4 months between the time when the farmers buy these inputs and when they sell the crop. Farmers usually take crop loans at the beginning of the season and repay the loan after harvest. You know that farmers hope to get a better harvest. They started the cultivation and they planned, they hoped to pay back the loan at the end of the or after the harvest. Repayment of the loan is crucially, that means repayment of the loan is very highly dependent on the income from farming. So Swapna's case, you can see that a crop failure occurred, then loan repayment impossible. So she compelled to sell part of the land to repay the loan. So in this situation we can see that instead of helping Swapna to improve her conditions from her earnings, left her worse off. That means her condition became too much bad than before after he took the loan. And this is an example of what is commonly called debt trap. What is the meaning of trap already you know. So here what happened now? Swapna now, or the credit pushes Swapna into debt trap, and at last she compelled to sell a part of her land to pay back the loan. So this situation is known as what? Debt trap. So what is debt trap? So debt trap means it is in credit, in this case, pushes the borrower into a situation from which recovery is very painful. So what is debt trap? A debt trap is a situation when it becomes impossible to repay the loan and the borrower adds on a new debt to pay the existing debt. So this situation is known as what? Debt trap. So what do you mean by the term debt trap, or what is a debt trap? You have to underline the question and answer here. And in one situation, so in the case of Selim, you see that credit helps to increase earnings and therefore the person is better off than before. You see that the credit helps Selim to produce the shoes on time, deliver the shoes on time, and he made a more profit. His condition became more better, or his condition situation is very good after his credit. But here what happens? The other situation, because of the crop failure, credit pushes the person into a debt trap. Swapna's case, Swapna, because of crop failure, she is unable to pay back the loan, and the credit pushes the borrower into a debt trap. To repay her loan, she has to sell a portion of her land. She is clearly much worse off than before, means her condition become worse, too much bad than before. Whether credit would be useful or not, therefore depends on the risks in the situation and whether there is some support in case of loss. So here, what is the conclusion here? Credit would be useful or not? That we can answer only like this. It depends upon the risk in the situation and whether there is some support in case of loss. Then credit would be useful. Otherwise, what happen? Sometimes the second situation, the case of Swapna, the creditor pushes the borrower into a debt trap. So here what we discussed the two different credit situations when we when we take the loans for different purposes. Sometimes it may helpful to us. Sometimes what happened, it create our conditions worse than before. So here we can conclude. Yes, thank you. All the important points you have to underline. Thank you.